Representative Pearson.
Thank you, Speaker. This was rushed through our committee, State Government Committee, sort of toward the tail end, but I'll start where I ended there. This legislation is xenophobic, it is racist, and it is harmful to undocumented people and immigrants in our communities. There are a couple of things you can read in this resolution that should give everyone pause, because it is political pandering and not seeking to address any real meaningful change. If, to my colleague's point, you really wanted to address this, you wouldn't be talking to the executive branch in the first place. You would reach out to your Congress people who you got documentation from, and you'd send a resolution to the U.S. Congress, the House, and the Senate there, and tell them that they need to fund the effective measures that would do what you're asking to be done, which include securing the border without removing the dignity of the people who are very oftentimes fleeing very dangerous circumstances as refugees. If this resolution was going to be effective, it would reach out to the people who fund the Department of Homeland Security. And just really quick, that's not the president, that's the United States Congress. So if this resolution was going to be effective and not a political pandering tool, it would address the people in positions of power, like the Speaker of the House of the United States Congress, and tell them they need to act in a more just way instead of bringing legislation before the Tennessee General Assembly asking us to codify and support xenophobia and racism and separation and division of immigrants in our communities. How is it doing that? You wrote in this resolution, whereas the failed policies of the Biden administration have made every state a border state and have allowed more than 10 million illegal immigrants to cross into our country since the president took office, and whereas the border problem is the leading cause of the fentanyl crisis, which has caused and continues to cause death of countless victims, but you refuse to expand Medicaid in the state of Tennessee that would help rural communities in particular who are disproportionately dying from fentanyl overdoses, whereas the border is a conduit, you say, for enabling human trafficking, leading to the rape and death of countless women and children, whereas you say all these things without a single statistic other than political posturing and racism and xenophobia at the root of this legislation. This is the problem. Governor Greg Abbott is going in direct contradiction to the law. While carrying a banner of law and order, Governor Greg Abbott is violating the law. And you are telling us lawmakers who swore on Bibles and to the United States Constitution and the Tennessee State Constitution to support somebody who is breaking the law? This is pathetic. It is not just a waste of our time, it is a pathetic use of our time. And it is a disgusting use of our time because, sponsor, what I fear you and some of my colleagues are doing is fomenting a culture war of division to other people, to separate people who are migrants and immigrants for people who are citizens. What I fear you all are doing with legislation like this and toxic language like calling human beings illegal is doing nothing but continuing the very harmful and devastating policies and legislation and ideology that lead to harm of the most marginalized. We need to urge the federal government to do something to help make sure that people who come to our borders are safe, to ensure that there's a pathway to citizenship, to ensure that we do everything possible to make sure families aren't separated, because somebody mentioned the previous president, and forgot about all the children who were separated from their parents who will never see them again. We cannot continue to pass legislation and to put forward these kinds of resolutions that do nothing but foment hatred and bigotry and division, instead of saying, what can we do to be of service? Like making sure we have things in multiple languages, welcoming the immigrant, That is the call of our faith and of our lives. This does not do that, so I'm voting no.
Representative McCalman, you're recognized.
Thank you for your comments. I renew my motion.
Representative McCalman.